have the main event, Cardinals Rewind. Cardinals versus Baltimore Ravens. Game number 2 on the season. Kyler Murray, mixed bag on him, but everybody's on board. But Jason, let's get your thoughts first. What do you think?
What'd you say about Kyler Murray? They rag on him?
I've seen some people ragging on him. I guess that's one of my points of interest here. So, yeah. So, you seeing other stuff, obviously?
Better not be ragging on my boy Kyler Murray, because not to toot my own horn and get my fantasy league involved here, but I just made a trade, and it's been accepted.
This is where you were going. Yeah.
So we'll see if this goes through. I mean, Kyler Murray's been a fantasy godsend. 30 points in the first game, 21 in the second game. The guy's a stud. But no, I mean, I think you look back at the real action here on the football field this past weekend. I mean, they did what they did. I mean, going into it last week, we talked about it. If they can play competitive football, then let's see what this team's all about. And, I think they played competitive football this past Sunday. I mean, they're 13.5-point dogs on the road, and they didn't lose by very much. So, I mean, I was thrilled with what I saw on Sunday.
So, I agree with you, except for the fourth quarter when they had 2 opportunities being down by, 6? And basically just fell apart. They didn't move the ball anywhere, basically 3 and outs. At the end of that game there, which was the disappointing part, was they had the chance to come back again and be in that game and possibly win that game, and then they just did nothing on those last 2 drives. So, I mean, that just puts a big damper on it. But overall, I agree with you. This team has hope, regardless of what people say. This team is bringing hope to the the valley here, and they're going to be competitive, which is all we can really ask for, especially after watching last year's games.
Yeah, I mean, they're really competitive right now. I mean, Kyler Murray threw for 350 yards against a team who we thought, the defense is what the Ravens were all about. So I was pretty shocked to see that stat line. Threw the ball 40 times, though. I'm still not too thrilled with that, especially when David Johnson only had 7 carries. So I feel like I get it. Cliff Kingsbury and the Texas Tech offense was more of an air raid, but it'd be nice to kind of – I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here.
Balance.
Yeah, there you go. It'd be nice to have a more balanced offense with this team instead of just a pass-heavy offense, because eventually he's just going to get picked off after pick-off after pick-off. So, I mean, they ran the ball
good
8 total times without, and Kyler Murray ran it 3 times. So 11 total times. 8 of those were just to running back. I mean, David Johnson obviously wasn't getting very many yards. 7 carries on 14 yards. As long as it was a 4-yard run. They ran with Edmonds once on a 2-yard little run there to close out the first quarter, I believe. So, I mean, but you look at the receiving cores, I mean, gosh dang. Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, I told you last week, it looks like he's found that target in Christian Kirk, and it showed this week with 6 receptions for 114 yards.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. But the disappointing part on the, not to be Mr. Negative here, but yeah, Murray passes for 349 yards. Second week in a row, he puts up the yardage lines, but 0 touchdowns until the fourth quarter again. They got to figure out a way to get into the end zone earlier in these games. 1, so they're not coming back all the time. And then 2, it's, what kind of momentum is that where you're not scoring until the fourth quarter? That's eventually going to take a toll on your team. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Christian Kirk and him are, at the first game they struggled a little bit matching up. This game they kind of struggled at the beginning matching up, but once they get on the same page, they're ready to go, which I believe opens up Larry on the other side to dominate on that side. But no, you're absolutely right. The Cardinals on the other side, you're absolutely right that the Cardinals are in passing formations, 4 receivers, no tight ends, 1 back. I saw the stat. I don't have it in front of me, but they're in it more than every other team in the league combined.
Right.
And, you're absolutely right. People are going to catch on to that sooner or later. But at the same time, the Baltimore Ravens were crashing that line to stop the run. And if they're doing that and they're going to allow you to throw the ball, then throw the ball. So I don't have a problem with those formations if Baltimore and the defenses are going to crash the line and, stunt those lines on there to stop the run, then that's fine. Go in those formations for the throwing pattern. But it'll be interesting to see how it'll change as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, though, if you are going to throw the ball that much, I mean, they got one touchdown this week, didn't come through the air. It actually came on a run to David Johnson, which I know me and you were both kind of surprised by after getting down there in the on the goal line. And it was like, all right, great, now we're going to pass it 3 times, but they actually did run it with David Johnson. Yeah. He ran it in with ease, I felt like, on that touchdown. But no, I mean, you look at it with the 25 or the 40 passing attempts, I honestly feel like that's just way too much for a rookie. I mean, he got sacked 3 times, which wasn't bad. You know, he's pretty elusive and getting out of the pocket and able to throw the ball away and stuff. But I just feel like this team, I mean, I don't know if they're there or if they're ready, but I mean, I don't know. I like them, you know?
No, they're fun to watch. There's no. I'll put it this way: we'll get a little insight on everybody as we were in Vegas for another event we had for another sport, and we were watching the game at the sports book. And you know how every game is on, and you can be kind of switch between every game, and you can get distracted by other games going on. And quite frankly, I was like, oh, I'll just watch this game later, and I was pretty much glued to that game most of the game because it was an interesting game as it went along, which was exciting to see on that. So, they are 0-1-1 on the season. As Terrell Suggs said, it's better than 0-2. So, genius there.
Hey, 2 games and you only have 1 loss. That's not bad, all right? The stats are good.
For a rookie, me and rookie head coaches and rookie quarterbacks, I don't think it's a good combination. So I'll take 0-1-1. Plus, just the way they're looking is, like you said, I mean, they definitely need to get in the end zone. And of course, my joke is when they get down to the half-yard line is 3 passes and a field goal because that's what he wants to do. So it was exciting to see him hand off to David Johnson to get in for that end zone for that one play. But how do you think the defense did? Now, they were going up against Lamar Jackson, who is just dominating the league so far. Granted, Miami the first week, and he's breaking all sorts of records this year with his running and everything. But, I think he had 252 yards in the air and, 150 on the ground there. So in terms of Lamar Jackson, my quick take on that is that they did the best they could with him, for the defense on there. But, right. Man, this Cardinals secondary, with all the injuries, and they're just going to get Patrick Peterson back, and it's just going to get better in that secondary. But these guys are playing really well in that secondary, bottling up those receivers, and this could be an exciting team coming down the line here.
I mean, yeah, they held him for 2, Lamar Jackson at 272 yards. On the ground, I mean, he did have 16 carries for 120 yards, but compared to what it was last week against Miami, which obviously I'm not trying to compare the Cardinals to the Miami Dolphins because that whole mess is just a big mess down there in Miami. But, I mean, I felt like going into this game, a lot of people weren't sure what the Cardinals were and what they had on defense. I feel like after this, you're like, this is a defense that maybe you can kind of somewhat get excited about and see what they have when it comes to these close games late. I mean, obviously with the Ravens there, I mean, they let Lamar Jackson sneak one out there and get that first down late, which is something you didn't want to see because you were hoping you'd have a chance to win it there with a handful of minutes left. But I really like this defense and where they're headed. I think they're heading in the right direction without the cornerbacks, and knowing that you're going to get Peterson back just has to make you feel good if you're a Cardinals fan.
Yeah, and I'm reading all this stuff on Jalen Ramsey right now, and they're asking too much for him in Jacksonville, but. Man, if that price comes down for any reason and the Cardinals can snag him on there, oh, man, that backfield, that secondary would just get dynamic all of a sudden. So see how that plays out. But they're just asking too much right now that I wouldn't pull that trigger either since you're building around Murray right now. So
right.
But, I mean, special teams, again, was really good this year. I mean, that's one gem that they have is the special teams is good on there, which, it's an underrated thing in professional football on special teams. But your special teams plays well, and it'll generally keep you in a game and they're moving forward. So, so 0-1-1. I think we both agree that there's hope in this season now. I'm not sold that Kyler Murray's a Hall of Famer that some people are. However, he's going to be a serviceable quarterback. The one thing I would like to see and wish I would have seen more, especially against Lamar Jackson, was Kyler Murray on those read options and whatnot. He likes to just put the ball in the running back's gut and then let it go. And I would like to see him pull it back a lot more and get outside and just see if he can develop anything out there. He's going to take some hits, which of course you don't want. but I would like to see him at least try that. Let's see some creativity with him out in the open against the corner, against a linebacker or a cornerback, and see what he can do out there. And I'd like to see them open that up a little bit more. And I don't know if that's a Kyler Murray decision or if it's the coaches telling him that. Of course, we would never be privy to that, but I would like to see that kind of open up a little bit more, especially against Baltimore. And transitioning into this week on there with, I would like to see it a lot more with Cam Newton, but it sounds like Cam Newton might not be playing this weekend against the Panthers.
Yeah, right now does not look too good. As up to about 4 hours ago, Coach Ron Rivera has yet to make a determination about Newton's status for the game this weekend in Arizona, dealing with a foot injury that kind of crept back up on him this past Thursday and everything. So, I mean, this team, they're coming in 0-2. Whether you have Cam Newton or not, this team, they're going to be hungry, especially here on the road. It'll be interesting to see what kind of team we get, and if we do get Cam Newton. I mean, obviously, I guess you plan for Cam Newton, but, things happen, and I guess we'll probably find out, what, you think Friday or Saturday with the decision here?
We'll know on how much he practices tomorrow. Today doesn't matter, being Wednesday. Thursday, kind of a big deal, but if he misses Friday, odds are he's not going to make it. Which puts basically a rookie quarterback in there in his back spot, who's a Valley native, by the way. And
yes, that's right, out of Desert Mountain.
Yep. So
Desert Mountain is like providing the quarterbacks, huh?
Right, exactly. So they're definitely getting them to the pros on that side, but I mean, Carolina's not going to announce to the last possible moment that he's not going to play because obviously they want the Cardinals to, go for, plan for him in there, and then they can switch at the last moment because they are two different quarterbacks. Let's be honest. But yeah, I mean, Carolina coming in, they're going to be hungry. They have to be hungry. That's a horrible start for them, and they had higher expectations for that. They are traveling across the country, beat up quarterback that even before he supposedly got hurt last week, Cam Newton, I felt looked damaged good. He's not running the ball. He's basically being a pocket passer, and that does not suit his style at all in there. So I have some positive outlooks here for this weekend against the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I think Cam Newton's been damaged goods for a while now. It's nothing new. And you looked at Kyle Allen. I mean, the kid out of Desert Mountain had a quarterback coach. I mean, you both actually know there, and Dennis Guile for a little bit. So I know if he does start this week, we'll probably see Dennis over there at the stadium getting crazy. Watching his boy Kyle Allen and then watching Kyler Murray, which would just, I think, be an exciting matchup. Last year made his first career start against New Orleans. Wasn't great in the stat line, but he did win the game versus the Saints. Threw for 228 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, this is a guy who I think can get it done. I mean, if he comes in here, obviously, I think you're planning for Cam Newton because Cam Newton and Kyle Allen, two totally different quarterbacks. So it could throw this defense off of sorts, especially coming off a game against Lamar, who you think would be more of a Cam Newton type. But, like you said, Cam Newton has kind of been of a shell of himself here the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see when the Panthers do update the information and everything. But I mean, right now, I think if I'm the Cardinals, I think you have to figure Allen will be playing.
Yeah, I mean, just everything I'm reading all day today is, I mean, Cam Newton's in a walking boot. Eric Reed came out yesterday for some odd reason and said Cam Newton's in a walking boot when they're trying to keep it quiet. And even if he plays, he's going to be a shell of himself. And Cam Newton is a runner. He's not a sit back and pocket pass type of guy. And, so I think the key this weekend, right, is going into it. And I'm not a football coach by any means, but I would assume the key would be Greg Olsen, but more importantly, Christian McCaffrey, making sure that they don't get run off, no matter who the quarterback is. Make sure the quarterback stays in the pocket, and then they can't do anything with those two guys, and you're pretty much going to bottle up that offense of the Carolina Panthers, is what I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I mean, last week we saw it happen with, some of our former coaches out here from Arizona with BA and the staff getting it done and able to hold Christian McCaffrey to very limited yards last week. I mean, obviously there was a little bit of rain in the area as well, but I thought they did a phenomenal job. And, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much film that the Cardinals take away from what happened last Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the weather last week, and obviously it's going to be in a dome this week here at Cardinal Stadium.
They might open the roof. I heard the weather's might be good.
Oh, really? Really? I'm like, really? Well, we're on the shady side, so I never care about the roof. But
95 degrees on Sunday. Let's go. Open that roof up.
yeah, there you go. Right? That's winter time here in Phoenix.
It's football weather.
Yeah. But coming in here, it's just going to be one of those things this weekend that I'm expecting, and we'll go ahead and make the prediction here that I think the Cardinals are going to win this game. The thing that I want to see, though, is I want to see him winning this game from the beginning. I want to see him getting some scores other than field goals. If they get stopped at the 30, 40-yard line and they have to kick a field goal from there, that's one thing. But if you're getting in the red zone, you need to start putting some balls into the end zone and scoring. And like I said, I'd like to see some creativity from the Cardinals and with this read option that they do, and stop just giving the ball to David Johnson. Every once in a while, pull it out and let's see what Kyler Murray can do on the outside. And let's just see what he can do when he gets out in front of these other talented guys out there and make some magic happen. And it's just going to get that crowd wild, and it's going to get that crowd excited. And Cardinals fans are ready to go, I think, for a win.
Oh yeah, definitely ready to go. I too am predicting a Cardinals win, and like you said, you want to seek some creativity. Maybe if you get down the red zone and getting in the red zone isn't your forte when it comes to passing, try to work on these pass plays from 25, 30 yards out. See if you can't punch it in that way. I mean, that's what we kind of saw week one. They were able to hit David Johnson on like a 23-yard pass, his first completion in the end zone. Then once they got down to the 1-yard line, they did a few different things to get the ball to Larry Fitzgerald on a touchdown, then to Christian Kirk for a 2-pointer. But maybe, it's the stuff in between there that's kind of the Achilles heel. Maybe try something else and see if you can't get some of these long passes inside the end zone.
Yeah, exactly. Take some shots is the old, what was the old Bruce Arians thing? No risk it, no biscuit type deal. So on there. And then on the defensive side, I touched on it earlier, regardless of who the quarterback is in there, you're either going to have a young guy in there, just like you're going up against Kyler Murray, you're going to have a young guy back there, or Cam Newton, who's hobbled right now. And so you need to shut down, like I said, that Greg Olsen is a stud. Even at his older age here, he can still put up a lot of points, put up a lot of yardage. You need to shut him down, make sure he's not getting those open like the Detroit tight end was across the middle half the game. And, of course, Christian McCaffrey is the go-around on that. You shut down those two, and it should be a pretty, easy game in terms of NFL standards for these Cardinals on the victory this weekend.
Yep, definitely looking forward to getting out there and enjoying game number 2 here at home. So it'll be exciting. Hopefully we don't leave with the bad taste of a tie in our mouths this weekend.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like this is like the first game, because our first one was like a tie. And then as exciting as that fourth quarter and first, overtime was, and then second game was on the roads, and now it's kind of like, oh, we're starting the season now. So I agree. So
exactly, yeah, the preseason's done now. Let's go.
So definitely follow me at SMAC500 on Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram. If you follow us on the Cardinals deal on that, and Jason, where can they find you at?
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JasonCarter03.
And definitely follow us. We always have updates during the game. While we're not the media types that sit in the media booth and pump out stuff. We sit in the crowd and we pump out things that we observe, things that we see. And we're true fans going into this kind of a deal, whereas we're not just that stuffy media side. So sometimes our opinions are out there, but hey, we try to back it up and know when we're wrong on that stuff. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next week for the Cardinals Rewind with a summary of the Cardinals-Panthers game this weekend.